We have a major development today with iDubbbz giving an apology to Ethan Klein and Ethan Klein dropping his pending lawsuit against them. We're going to do that today on The Legal Mindset. We teach you to be your own judge. I'm Andrew Esquire, American attorney, and I am a little bit sick today, so I do apologize if I sound different than my normal cadence. So iDubbbz had made some statements about Ethan Klein that were beyond not very nice. In fact, those comments under the relevant law, which have been Canadian law. Now, I'm not a Canadian attorney. I don't play one on TV, but I do have many Canadian legal friends and did some appropriate research for this as well. And under those laws, it would definitely fall within categories of defamation per se. It's very clearly defamatory statements that were left on his stream for a significant period of time. Well, iDubbbz has now come up with this apology, which we're going to check out right now.
Hello, everyone. I am going to be talking about a very important and heavy topic for me. I don't want to take away from the purpose of this video, and that is to apologize to Ethan Klein and his family.
And this has two really strong strategies in the apology, because when you're looking at defamation cases in general, a timely apology matters. So the actual legal system, when you're looking at the case, will review that and say, okay, did you apologize quickly, right? Was there some sort of response here? Was there sincerity to it? And the Canadian system, especially from what I learned looking into that system, does put heavy weight on apologies. Now, an apology doesn't necessarily get you out of jail. It doesn't make you completely innocent. Let's say Ethan had still gone forward with this case. He could have still gone forward with it, but the damages might have been severely mitigated, right? So the apology does have an actual legal effect here. Whether or not you feel like iDubbbz believed that morally or did not.
Basically, Ethan is suing me for having rebroadcasted a statement made by Destiny on my stream. I did display the very disgusting comment for 40 minutes.
That's a very long time to keep a message up, an extremely long time to keep a message up.
And it was wrong. It was a comment from Destiny, and I even said that I don't agree with it. Regardless of the point I was making, it was wrong.
Well, it would seem like in this case, he was just very mad at very mad at Ethan Klein. And that's why he showed the Destiny comment, because he was just very, very mad at him personally. And he wanted anything to throw out there. And that's very common on the internet, where people are just mad at somebody. So they look at whatever hyperbolic thing to say, regardless of whether it's true or not. You just search for the first thing you can say, the first slur or bad word, or, whatever you could say against them. And you just drop that against them because you're mad at what they're saying. You don't agree with them, but you can't articulate a logical reason to actually fight back. And this is very, very common on the internet, perhaps too common. We're going to keep going, but before we go, I've got an important message for you. Recently, a jury ordered Meta and YouTube to pay millions for their role in designing and promoting addictive platforms. They knew their apps could contribute to anxiety, depression, and body image issues, but did not share those risks while prioritizing profits. The recent historic verdict underscores the consequences of those decisions. If you or your child spent years growing up on social media and experienced serious mental health struggles, you should hear this. Morgan & Morgan is stepping up to hold these platforms accountable for the harm they caused. You can use the link in my description or scan the QR code to take a short quiz to see if you qualify for a case. You may be entitled to a potential recovery of over $1,000. Okay, we're back, and let's get into more of this video.
I was angry, and I was like, how do I get this guy to, one, not clip me, not mock me and harass me on his live stream, and two,
this is the one here, and this is the first part, and he messed up here very big. So remember, his concerns are how do I get this guy to not clip me and mock me and harass me? Well, what you do is you ignore them. That generally works, right? And one problem with iDubbbz, and he had this problem recently also with the Keno Casino, kind of playing into their hand there. These drama channels, if you're a drama channel, or any drama channel, they love if you react to them. They love if you call them out. They love if you mention them. So what you have to do is to not do that, right? That's how you deal with the drama channels. It's fairly straightforward. But for some reason, he doesn't have the discipline and hasn't had the discipline to be able to keep that under control.
I don't I'm angry. I'm angry that this multimillionaire is silencing people and suing people, people who
And this is and this is just his anger, but that doesn't justify you to make a defamatory statement. Even if you think he's a rich bully and he's bullying people on the internet, there are certain things you can't say about people, such as accusing them of being criminals, right? And the behavior that he described was legally criminal behavior. He was calling him one of the worst types of criminals out there. We all know what that is, right? But we know what I'm talking about.
have a much smaller audience than he does, and can barely defend themselves. And so I'm angry. I don't like bullies, so I wanted to do something that would have an impact, and without checking in with myself of whether or not that was a right or wrong thing to do. I justified it in my head at the time. I was like, okay, well, it's not my words, and it's actually said by a really bad guy, Destiny.
Well, first of all, let's stop there. That it is your words. And in the eyes of the law, you are republishing this. So yes, this is as if it's your words. You're just too cowardly to actually say that yourself. You are too cowardly to say the words. You lack the intestinal fortitude to be able to go and say that and to stand on your, 10 toes and go, no, this is what I'm saying. You had to, through your cowardice, use Destiny. And by the way, don't call Destiny necessarily bad just for that comment. Once again, these things, internet people say all sorts of nasty things about people on the internet. People say nasty things about Destiny. Destiny is yet to be, at this point, as much as I may disagree with his lot of takes, as long as Destiny has said bad things about me, guess what? Destiny has still not been convicted of any crime. So I wouldn't go around calling Destiny a criminal. And also, this is a little update, a side update with his lawsuit. He's probably going to end up ultimately winning in his lawsuit with Pixie at this point by in way of a settlement or a payout. There's going to be a settlement. There's going to be a payout, right? Destiny is not going to go to jail for 55 years or life sentence or be sent to the gulag. And that's the whole point here with online defamation. And what people have to get in their heads is you can disagree with somebody. You can disagree with them strongly, but you cannot call them a criminal. And we really need to get an internet culture that just stops that.
Not a fan of that guy. It's very clear that it was never the right thing to do. It was a comment about Ethan and his children, and it was disgusting. I said at the time in the
it was very bad, and we all know what he's talking about. This is the most horrible sort of insinuation you can make, is that there's any sort of crime going on of that sort.
Stream that I don't agree with it, but still sharing it and broadcasting it to people for 40 minutes. That was an irresponsible and reckless thing to do. Especially for parents. Like there are many parents with kids out there who do not want to see that, and I'm showing it to people. Like, look what this said. It's wrong. It's wrong to do. To be frank, I'm angry. I do not like Ethan. I think he's doing a lot of damage to people online.
You cannot like somebody, but it still doesn't give you the right to cross that line of defamation. And this is where I think a lot of people who lack emotional control, they just can't help but saying things that are absolutely nasty lies about other people on the internet just because they're angry and they can't deal with their emotions, right? They need emotional control and they just don't have that.
And it changed the way that I was thinking about it. I didn't think about it. I didn't ground myself. I didn't think about, who is actually being affected in this instance. And Ethan's family and his kids are being affected. I just because I don't like Ethan, I think it's wrong to find an attack vector that is his kids. It's foul. It's not okay. And
he did this, right? So this is what he did, right? He posted a comment that made an implication about another man's, family. That's probably one of the most vile things you could do. And Ethan had every right to be angry enough to file a lawsuit. I think any father, or mother, if they were accused of heinous crimes, involving their family, would feel like they were justified to sue or fight back any way you can legally.
I think it was wrong for me to use the Destiny screenshot as a cudgel to make my point. I didn't need to use the Destiny screenshot to make my point. There's a million other ways I could have done it, but I didn't. And I regret that I didn't, and I regret that I ever put that screenshot on my live stream. You know, that's the main reason why I feel like I do need, for myself, for my soul, to own up to this and acknowledge that I went too far.
And once again, yes, I do believe that this is a sincere apology. And I know it takes a lot for someone, he put this on his main channel. It takes a lot for someone to come out and put an apology video on their main channel, apologizing to somebody for something. But I think that, you know, doing this also had a legal effect. And let's not pretend that he wasn't thinking, okay, this may get him also to drop the lawsuit. And even if he doesn't drop the lawsuit in Canada, this is going to mitigate it, right? This is going to make the damages less. This is going to, you know, make our case look more sympathetic, even if Ethan didn't drop it. You know, despite that being in his mind, I do believe the apology so far sounds sincere.
Ethan and Hila and their family do not deserve that. At the end of the day, whatever happens with the lawsuit is what it is. For myself, I needed to make it known on the internet that what I did was wrong, and I don't want to be that person. I don't want to behave that way. I want to put my energy into making content that I can be proud of and that I'm not going to be ashamed of because I lost the plot.
That's his problem. And that's probably what he's more struggling with, I imagine, is just making his content and what his content is at this point, because this is something what I think a lot of creators, especially creators that have been around a long time, you start asking yourself questions like, you know, can I still do my old content, or do I need to switch it up, or can I keep up with the times, right? Especially someone like him who was very popular back in the day, obviously has a different market today, right? And has gone down a different path. But obviously it seems like he's got some other problems that leaked into him being emotional and him making these statements that he shouldn't have made.
I want to stay focused. I want to check in with myself and know what it is I want to be and what I want to do and what message I want to spread. And this isn't a message I want to spread. So I'm sorry to Ethan and Hila and your family. You guys didn't deserve that. I'm going to think about all of this a lot more, I'm sure. But for now, I really do want to just get back to making the content that I want to make. Having said all that, I wish everyone the best. I genuinely want to see a better world, and I do not want to be a contributor to what makes it terrible. So long.
There you go. So that was the iDubbbz's apology. Shortly after that, we had signs that everything was dropped. So we had this comment, which was pinned by iDubbbz from Ethan Klein, H3H3 Productions, who says, "Hi, Ethan. I appreciate the thoughtful apology. It means a lot. I've instructed my attorneys to drop the lawsuit entirely." So this apology was highly effective. Think about Pokemon. This was a super effective move. And I feel like Ethan thought that was valid. And honestly, that's what matters, right? Ethan is the person at the end of the day who controlled whether the lawsuit went forward or not. He's the one who is defamed. So if he thinks it's enough, that's enough, right? So at the end of the day, Ethan Klein thinks enough. Hey, that's what, for me, if I see that everything is settled between the parties, that's it. That's a good resolution. That's the best possible resolution. Also, I want to point out Anise taking a moment to kind of, I don't know if she's going off, but she's like law splaining here, saying, please do not apply U.S. law to the Canadian courts. Canada's legal system encourages genuine self-reflection and earnest apologies. Please trust that what is being done is what feels right. Well, Canada's system is different from everything I discussed with my Canadian legal colleagues. Yes, and apologies do factor in. But also it was much easier to bring a case in Canada because the actual malice standard is different. They don't have the New York Times versus Sullivan standard that we have in the US. And there's other parts of the system that make the case easier. So the case would have been much easier for Ethan Klein, more plaintiff friendly for Ethan Klein in Canada. So getting that apology out there quickly to mitigate that, to try to stop that, was very smart move on them. Even if it was sincere, it was a bit smart tactical move as well. She also said down there, Ian's apology was not done to avoid the lawsuit. It was done because he felt like it was something he wanted to do for himself. Well, obviously you would say that, but I believe Ethan, once again, Ethan believes that. So if Ethan's okay with it, if Ethan thinks it's sincere, then it seems like it's good enough. So that's what brings me to my judgment. In my judgment, this is the best possible outcome. It always is the best possible outcome to avoid court and settle things peacefully for all parties. As much as I love the drama, as much as I love the courtroom shenanigans and getting into the stories and all other stuff, as much as I love all that, it is best for all parties to settle. And I'm very happy that this came to a settlement, that everybody was able to come together and be reasonable. I think that is a good thing. But I want to know what you guys think in the comments below, and I will catch you on the next one.